What is up? My name is Melissa McCack. This is Room 51, where we talk all things board gaming. This is Mind Over Meta, where I combine psychology and board gaming into one beautiful segment. I am a mental health counselor by day, so I thought I'd combine the two interests of mine into one glorious segment. What I want to talk about is the relation between gender dysphoria and playing board games. So first, what is gender dysphoria? It is when someone who their gender identity does not match the gender they were assigned at birth, and it's causing them some sort of distress. It's unsettling. So with that, I guess this is also sort of a coming out video for myself. I have been recently coming out to like friends and family and everything that I am non-binary, my pronouns being he, him, and she, her. So with that, I don't necessarily identify as a woman. I don't necessarily identify as a man. I'm non-binary. So I wanted to talk about that in terms of playing board games and what that means for some sort of gender dysphoria, because I've experienced a ton of gender dysphoria throughout my life. I'm sure many people have. And so I guess I wanted to talk about that because there's multiple layers to this, right? With playing board games. For one instance, the rule book, right? Where lots and lots of rule books only use he, him pronouns. So that's problematic on a number of accounts, right? One, it's kind of like, it's misogynist, because you are avoiding the fact of, other genders playing board games, right? You're ignoring that, and you're not adhering to the fact that not only men or boys play board games, right? So right off the bat, you are excluding people, right? Just through your writing. And that could be dysphoric for, for people who are gender nonconforming, are trans, whatever it might be. And it could even, it might not be dysphoric for women, but it could be taken the wrong way, right? Because at the end of the day, we all just want to feel like we belong, that we're not outsiders, that we're just here to have fun, and it's not great to be thrown into your face. Yes, you've been forgotten yet again. So that's one thing with the rule book. And it's funny, actually, because my brother, he was reading a rule book. We were playing some sort of game, and there was he, him pronouns, and a lot of times we just change it to say like they, them, or she, her, whatever it might be. And he was reading it and he was like, and it was just me and him playing, us two. And he's like, hey, you know what? I actually don't have to change the pronouns here because I could use he, him pronouns for you too. And I was like, that is true. That actually made me feel kind of good, right? It's like you are seeing me the way I see myself, which was awesome. However, I do wish that the rulebook did just have all pronouns. Anyway, aside from rule books and my tangent on that, we actually recorded a Roll for Thought a while back with one of the brothers Murph, I believe it was Mike Murphy, about rule books, about he in rule books. But anyway, aside from that, there's other things, right? I mean, there are plenty of board games where there's only male characters that you could play as. Sometimes, and the more progressive games have characters where you could play as male, or you flip it over and it's female, or they have just a mix of things, right, where you could play these types of characters, they're male characters, these type of characters, they're female characters. Cool, awesome. But what about all other genders, right? Rarely have I seen any sort of trans representation in board gaming, right? I haven't really seen gender neutral folks or characters in games. I don't know if I've ever seen, non-binary, gender fluid. I don't see many transgender characters, even in, and I know that like in certain games, I mean, you wouldn't know if they're trans probably, but in like storytelling games, right, story-driven games where you could totally have trans characters in this world building and everything, and you kind of just don't, that kind of sucks, right? And so when you are picking a character, when you are playing as a character, you're sort of having some sort of connection with that character, right? It's like, yes, I'm that character. But if I can't play as the gender that I see myself as in this game, I kind of feel this sort of disconnect, right? It could be kind of dysphoric. At the end of the day, right, because like on the outside world, people won't see me the way I see myself, right? People won't see me as non-binary, possibly, right? And they'll try to misgender me either on purpose or people misgender me by accident, right? So it would be nice that in a game, in a fictional, fantastical world where I can be whoever I want to be and just escape reality for like an hour or two, I still am met with real world discrimination, forgetfulness, ignorance. I don't mean ignorance, but, well, some ignorance. But what I really mean is like an ignoring of my identity, right? So, you know, it kind of sucks. And I'm sure that there's plenty of people out there who feel the same way. Another instance is, and this isn't just in board gaming, but this could happen in sports and, you know, all sorts of things when there's this sort of team game, right? Let's say Codenames, right? Team game. And then you have somebody who inevitably says, let's do boys versus girls. Oh my gosh, I cannot stand boys versus girls in any instance. First of all, we already live in a world where it's boys versus girls. We don't need to also establish that in our game where we get to escape reality and just have some fun, right? Without dealing with real world crap. So that's one thing. Another thing, where do I go on those teams, right? People always associated me with like, okay, so Melissa's got to be on the girls team. And that made me feel so uncomfortable, right? And dysphoric, right? So it didn't feel right. I didn't feel like I belonged on that team. I didn't feel like I belonged on the men's team or the boys team, whatever. And I didn't feel like I belonged on the women's team. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be on either of those teams, really. Now, for me, I do tend to lean a little bit more towards masculinity, right? So if anything, I guess I would choose to be on the guys' team. But like, why are we doing this? I hate the concept of like boys versus girls. It reinforces the binary of society as though there's only two genders, and that's just not the case. And the other thing is, I mean, you don't know, right? Like, I just came out recently about my non-binary gender identity. So, you might not know what gender I am. And people have sort of a hard time, like, grasping their head around that. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, I should just know. And it's like, why? Why should you just know, right? Like, you don't know my nationality, right? Like, you don't know where I was born or anything like that, that says a lot about me, right? Like, those things are also part of my identity. So why must you know just by looking at me what my gender identity is? So, I don't know. There's that. So I think that playing board games can be an awesome sense of escape, but it can also be jarring, where all of a sudden I'm met with those gender norms once again in this place that should be safe, right? In this place that I just want to have a good time and not think about, you know, the crap that goes on in my head all the time. So anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. That is gender dysphoria and playing board games. I would love to know down in the comments below if you've had any sort of instances of this, or if maybe you've been the perpetrator of this. That's okay too. And I would love to like hear your story, what you thought of it, what you might change now, if anything. I don't know. But I would like to just start a conversation, honestly. That's what I really want to do. And have, you know, civil discourse, I guess, on the matter, because I know that this is a touchy subject for many people, and so let's just be kind to one another. Anyway, this has been Room 51. You can follow us on social media at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at This Is Room 51. You could also check out our Redbubble account down in the description below. It has the link. And we also stream on Twitch live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST at twitch.tv/Room51 live. Thank you. This has been Room 51.